Live from the chicken wing capital of the world, Buffalo, New York. You're listening to the Childcare Bridge podcast, your source for the best tips, tools, and tactics on how to market and grow your childcare center, ensuring total domination. Total domination. This is the Childcare Bridge, and this is your host, Michael Tasner.
Alignment. One of the most important words if you want to make sure that the childcare business empire that you are building can continue without you. Just last week, I had the privilege to go sit in at the executive meeting for a 12-location childcare business. And the feedback that I was given before I walked in was, Michael, I don't feel like our team has alignment. In today's episode, I wanted to give you some quick hits, some actions that you can move the needle on to make sure that if you've got one location, if you've got 50 locations, that your team and yourself are marching to the same drum and have at least a layer of strategic alignment. Now, in this meeting, I would say within 15 minutes, I could tell that things were about to get railed. And it was one of those things where I could just sit and observe. And I love to look at people's energy. I like to look at their expressions. I like to look at all of the cues that people make, myself included, when they don't even realize it. And I could start to see right from the first couple of minutes when the founder of the business was talking, I noticed a few people weren't even listening. I saw one person roll their eyes, one person gazing and just kind of staring into space. They didn't feel that whatever the owner, the founder, the CEO was saying was relevant enough to make sure that they were actively listening, especially also noting that the CEO introduced me as this consultant to kind of help and make sure that today's meeting continued in a productive fashion. So usually when they introduce a third-party consultant, people get a little bit nervous, like, hey, is this guy coming in to potentially axe me or size up my job or whatever that is? So normally, especially in the morning and when the owner is talking, like, I'm expecting to see everyone like watching and like hanging on every single word. So I paused the meeting after the CEO gave his introduction, and I went around the room with one particular question. And I said, what are the goals for the next 90 days? And a couple people said, well, what do you mean by that? Because you have a couple of people in the room that are focused on curriculum. You have people that are overseeing the 15 to 20 directors. You've got someone on the enrollment side. You had their VP of finance. So everyone had different goals that they felt for their department or for themselves. And I said, no, what do you believe over the next 90 days are the most important goals for this business? And I could tell after everyone started giving answers that we were going to have to do a bit of a reset. Some of the answers ranged from getting enrollments up. Other answers focused on more leads, more tours. One person focused on talking about the food quality and how they were trying to move to organic food, and they felt that was the number one priority. And I'm not saying that was or wasn't, so hang with me. We'll get to kind of the end and then how to deploy this exact framework inside of your business. But I noticed that the alignment was not there across the organization. People were only thinking about their department. The finance department, there was one person there, so VP of finance. Their goals were around profitability, which is a great goal, but every single individual had a different goal. And what I did before asking the question was that I made them silently write them down on a sheet of paper. 3 different goals. What I didn't want to do, and this is just a slight aside for you, is that you never want other people to be sharing so that everyone else can listen and then say, oh yeah, that's what I was thinking. I want everyone's individualized answer before the group shares. And in particular, I always want the owner to share last. I don't want the owner to say, here are the goals, and then you guys tell me what you think, and then everyone just echoes what the owner said. And when they had a little bit of time to write things down, I was happy they did, but I could tell that there was essentially zero alignment. There was a little bit of crossover here and there, but the director of curriculum, they felt that the 3 most important goals for the upcoming quarter were 100% due to curriculum. So rewriting X modules, getting ahead for the upcoming calendar year, or necessarily the busy season, so like when it starts in September at this particular center in terms of back to school time. They had all of these goals that were individualized for the department. And then I asked, well, why did everyone here give specific goals that were for your department when I said, what do you all believe are the 3 most important goals for the entire business? When I framed the question to you, I asked for the entire business. But each of you individually didn't give me anything that was outside of your purview. And then I said something to the extent of what gives. And the feedback that I got was that outside of these meetings that they were doing once a quarter, which is a great start, they didn't have a window into anything else that was going on, but they didn't necessarily know what the plan for the remainder of the year, what the plan for next year and beyond. Someone said, I don't know if the plan or the goal is to open up 5 more locations in the next couple of years. The finance person said, I didn't think we were going to open up any more locations due to kind of our low profitability margins, because this center, I'm saying center, but again, they've got 12 plus locations. They have a model where they build brand new locations. So they find land, they build from scratch. So there's a bit of time out that obviously this takes. Like this isn't you open a center in the next week. And they were shocked then to hear that there's already a couple of other locations that are already being built. There's land that's already being purchased. Like there were a lot of surprises that started to come out during this meeting. The good news is that by the end of the meeting, the team was able to leave in alignment. Now, how did we do that? Why am I sharing this with you? And what do you need to do, regardless, again, if you have 1 location or 50? What do you have to do to get alignment across your team? And the answer is very, very simple. You need a 1 to 2 page document that lists out the next quarter, the remaining of the year, and up to 5 years out. So let's unpack that and I'll share with you kind of what goes in this. So there's a lot of different frameworks for you to put this document together. I've spoken about different operating methodologies that you could look at adopting into your business. The one that is widely talked about is called EOS, or the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And within that system, they have a document called the Vision Traction Organizer, VTO. I would encourage you to go Google that. I'll link that in the show notes and use that as a template. Now, the issue with you using that as a template and then using nothing else within the entrepreneurial operating system, it's a little tricky, but this is, I would argue, the most important document within EOS. There are other books and other frameworks. I'm a huge fan of something called Scaling Up, the book Scaling Up, and then they have their templates that you can use within that book. There's another framework that I personally use called Scalable. They have their template. But what I don't want you to do is get lost in filling out the perfect template. I want you to use my methodology called sloppy success. Having anything and moving the needle is better than having nothing. This is different, though, from a document that I've talked to you in the past, and that is having a painted picture. I want you to re-listen to that episode around the painted picture. That is a very vivid picture, not plan, but a very vivid picture of what 3 years from today looks like. So how many locations do you have? What is your culture like? How much money are you making? What does your staff look like? How many families do you serve? And that's you painting the picture, describing it as if it already happened. But the big difference between what I'm explaining here and that vivid vision or painted picture, they're called both, is that the vivid and painted picture don't give the how, they give more of the big picture plan. This vision traction organizer allows you to sit down, and if you were to just bury your head, it allows you to sit down and fill out the most important components for your business. What I have found at childcare centers is that two things are critical. Number one, what are your 3 most important goals for the quarter? So the next 90 days. Number 2, what are the 3 most important goals for the next 12 months? When you're building out those 3, and I'll give you examples, your quarterly goals should always have something to do with your yearly goals. So for example, you might say that one of your yearly goals is to get to 95% full enrollment. Whether that's at one location, every location, it doesn't matter at this stage. But if your goal and you want to write down within 12 months 95% full enrollment, FTE, full-time equivalent. And then if you go down and break down your quarterly goals, if you have a quarterly goal around improving the food, a quarterly goal around adding playground equipment, and then another goal maybe adding cameras. How do any of those roll up and actually tie into your yearly goal? There always should be something during the quarter that rolls up and is going to help make sure that you hit your yearly goals. You would need to have something within the quarter that talks about generating X amount of leads or X amount of tours, because that's going to then correlate to your yearly goal. So step 1 is that you need to get laser focused on your next quarter goals. What are the 3 most important things that are going to help you move that needle? Number 2, those should all be in alignment with whatever you set as your 3 most important goals for the quarter. Or excuse me, your 3 most important goals for the year. Those 2 things are mission critical. After you then have set those, you need to make sure that every single week you're having even a short meeting with your leadership team and you're looking at your quarterly goals every single week. You're seeing a metric for those 3 goals that someone on your team outside of you is being held accountable to hitting. Traditionally, everyone on the team should be playing some kind of role to also impact each of those. But every week you need to be looking at them. So just practicing that one thing, planning out your 3 most important goals for the quarter, your 3 most important goals for the entire year, and those goals for the quarter are tied in, and then spending at minimum 30 minutes a week making sure that you're looking at the goals, looking at the metrics every single week. You're communicating that, the team is reporting back. That one thing alone will get you more alignment than you have ever had, period. I want you to start there. Now, there are other elements of the vision traction organizer and having things like, well, what is your Culture. So what are the core values within your organization? What is your stated mission? What do you stand for? What makes you different? All those things are very important. But for today, and to get more alignment rapidly, I'm all about speed. Money follows speed. Set your 3 goals for the next 12 months, 3 goals for the next quarter that tie into, in some way, your annual goals. Communicate those to the entire team, and then with your leadership team every single week. You're going to look at these and make sure that you're making pivots, making progress on those goals. That's all that I want you to focus on. The other elements I will teach you, and time will come, and we'll revisit culture and mission and vision and other important elements to get alignment, but I want you to focus here to get rapid alignment. Look forward to catching you next week. As always, comment, like, share, give me some feedback. Michael Tasner signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night.